The fallout from the Champions League clash between Benfica and Real Madrid has gone way beyond the final score. For hours after the match, the focus wasn't on tactics, goals, or substitutions, but on one tense moment between Gianluca Prestianni and Vinicius Jr. A single alleged exchange on the pitch has turned into a full-blown controversy, with accusations of racist language, conflicting testimonies, and now a strong public denial from Prestianni himself. What began as a post-match comment from Kylian Mbappé has grown into one of the most talked-about incidents in European football this week. And after staying quiet while the debate exploded around him, the young Argentine forward has finally responded, not through an interview, but directly on social media, with the full backing of his club, Benfica. Let's lay out what we know. During the game, there was a heated moment involving Prestianni and Vinicius Jr. after the final whistle. Kylian Mbappé claimed in his post-match comments that he had heard Prestianni call Vinicius mono, monkey, and even suggested it was repeated several times. That single allegation, coming from a superstar with Mbappe's profile, immediately set social media alight. Many fans and observers took it as fact right away, given the serious history of racism that has surrounded Vinicius Jr. in recent seasons. But the situation became far less clear-cut as more pieces of information started to emerge. Benfica stepped in to support their player, and now Prestianni himself has gone public to reject the accusations in strong terms. Gianluca Prestianni chose his X account, the platform formerly known as Twitter, to break his silence. In a post that quickly began circulating among football fans, he addressed the allegations head-on. He said that if he had truly used racist language toward Vinicius Jr., as claimed, someone on the pitch would have reacted in that moment. Teammates, opponents, the referee. In his view, there is no way such a serious insult would have been met with no visible response at all. He pointed out that what people are fixating on is him covering his mouth with his shirt while speaking, something we see players do constantly at the top level. Prestianni's stance is that this habit is being twisted into supposed evidence of wrongdoing when in reality, players routinely cover their mouths to prevent lip reading, protect private exchanges, or avoid having every word scrutinized on TV. To him, that alone is not a sign of guilt, and he's frustrated that it's being portrayed that way. In his post, Prestianni insisted that the accusations being thrown at him are not only false, but deeply unfair given the weight of what is being alleged. Being accused of racism is one of the most serious charges a player can face, especially in the modern game where there is so much focus, rightly, on fighting discrimination. He made it clear that he believes people are making things up based on assumptions rather than reality, and that he will not accept being branded as something he says he is not. When a young player speaks like that, publicly and directly, it's not something they usually do lightly, and he's not standing alone in this. His statement came just after Benfica, as a club, made a very deliberate move to back him. Before Prestianni's post went live, Benfica released a video from a different camera angle of the incident in question. This wasn't some random fan clip. It was an official release from the club's media channels. The goal of that video was simple: to show the positioning of the players and demonstrate, in Benfica's view, that no Real Madrid player was close enough, or in the right line of sight, to clearly hear what Prestianni was saying in that moment, from that alternative angle. Benfica is essentially arguing that it would have been virtually impossible for Kylian Mbappé to have heard the words he later described, let alone heard them 5 times, as he claimed. The distance, the crowd noise, and the number of bodies between them all play into Benfica's argument that Mbappé could not realistically have picked up that specific insult the way he said he did. Now, to be clear, what Benfica is offering here is their interpretation and their defense of their player. They're saying, look, based on where everyone was standing, it doesn't add up. They're not pretending the clip has perfect audio or some crystal clear mic on Prestianni. What they're doing is challenging the credibility of the original allegation and giving their forward both visual backing and institutional support. Prestianni then quoted that Benfica video in his own X post, tying his personal denial directly to the club's official stance. He's not distancing himself from them, and they're not distancing themselves from him. That alignment is important. Often when there's any doubt about a player's conduct in situations like this, clubs tread carefully, issue vague statements, or say they will wait for investigations. Benfica, by contrast, came out with a clear angle and essentially said, "We do not believe our player did what he's being accused of." On the other side of this is Kylian Mbappe's original statement, which is what ignited the public debate in the first place. A player of Mbappe's stature, making that kind of claim after a Champions League match, was always going to carry enormous weight. He said that he heard Prestianni call Vinicius mono multiple times. Given Mbappe's professionalism and the seriousness of the word, many people immediately took that at face value. That created a powerful narrative. A Real Madrid star, Vinicius Jr., already associated with repeated high-profile racism incidents in stadiums across Europe, once again being targeted. This time, allegedly, by a direct opponent on the pitch. In that emotional context, nuance can get lost very quickly. People want a villain and a victim, and the reaction becomes instant, high volume, and often unforgiving. Now we have a very different picture. On one hand, you have Mbappe saying he heard a slur. On the other, you have Prestianni strongly denying it, supported by Benfica's official video and messaging, arguing that no one on the field even reacted in the moment, which wouldn't make sense if such a shocking word had actually been used. That split puts a lot of fans in a difficult spot. Some believe Mbappe without question. Others look at Benfica's footage and Prestianni's denial and think there may have been a misunderstanding, mishearing, or exaggeration. And then there's a third group that doesn't feel confident either way, but is deeply aware of how serious and how sensitive accusations of racism are in football today. One key point Gianluca Prestianni hammered home in his post is the lack of immediate reaction from Madrid players. His logic is simple. If it really called Vinicius Jr. a racist term, someone who confronted him, complained to the referee, or at least visibly reacted. You don't usually see something that loaded just slide by unnoticed in the heat of a Champions League game. Of course, silence in the moment doesn't absolutely prove innocence. There are times when players miss things, or when emotions are so high that someone decides to address it later. But Prestianni is clearly leaning on that no reaction argument as a central part of his defense to him. It's one more piece that supports his position that the accusation is not grounded in reality. The mouth-covering aspect has also become a major visual talking point. Fans and pundits online have shared still images and short clips of Prestianni lifting his shirt to cover his mouth while speaking near Vinicius. For some, that looks suspicious. It creates this impression that he was trying to hide something offensive. Prestianni, however, is pushing back on that strongly. His argument is that everyone at this level knows players do this all the time to keep conversations private and avoid being lip-read. If you watch any top European game, you'll see attackers, defenders, and even referees doing the same thing. So we've got two very different ways of interpreting the same action. The same visual, shirt over mouth, can be read as trying to hide an insult or standard top-level behavior in the age of HD cameras and social media analysis. Which version someone leans toward often ends up depending on whether they already believe he said something racist or not. Benfica's decision to release that alternate angle is also about more than just this one incident. It sends a signal to the wider football world. They are not going to let their player be condemned purely on the basis of public opinion and one high-profile accusation without challenging it. They are using the tools at their disposal, video, access to raw footage, their official channels, to build a counter-narrative. For Prestianni himself, this is a huge moment early in his career. He's still a young player trying to establish himself in European football. Being at the center of a racism controversy in a Champions League tie against Real Madrid is not exactly the kind of attention any young forward wants. How this plays out could shape the way fans and clubs view him for a long time, which is why his decision to go public with a clear, emotionally charged denial makes sense from his perspective. He doesn't want this to define him. At the same time, accusations of racist language cannot simply be brushed aside any time a player denies them. The reality is that racism has been, and still is, a problem in football. Players like Vinicius Jr. have spoken repeatedly about the abuse they've received, and governing bodies are constantly under pressure to do more. That's why the situation is so delicate. If a slur was used, it must be taken seriously and punished. If it wasn't, then a player is facing one of the worst labels possible for something he says he never did. This is where evidence matters. Video, audio, official reports, everything comes under the microscope. Right now, what we have publicly is Mbappe's word. Prestianni's denial Benfica's backing and video analysis, and the broader context of how racism has shaped discussions around Vinicius Jr. in recent months and years. It's a messy, emotionally charged mix. One thing we can say for sure is that this incident shows just how quickly the modern game moves from the pitch to the court of public opinion. Within hours, clips were being shared, slow-motion replays were dissected, and fans were drawing their own conclusions. Now, with Prestianni's post and Benfica's intervention, we're seeing the other side fighting back just as publicly. This kind of back and forth makes it harder to see a clean resolution. Even if more angles or official analyses emerge, a lot of people have already made up their minds. Some will continue to side with Vinicius Jr. and Mbappé, prioritizing the lived experiences of players who have dealt with racism repeatedly and trusting their instincts. Others will emphasize the presumption of innocence and point to Benfica's video, the lack of on-pitch reaction, and Prestianni's firm denial as enough to cast serious doubt on the accusation. What's clear is that Prestianni is not accepting the role of silent villain here. By saying in public that the claims are not true, that accusing someone of something this serious isn't right when it didn't happen, he's putting his own reputation and credibility on the line. If it later emerges that there's stronger evidence against him, those words will come back heavily. If not, then his current stance and Benfica's support will look like necessary and justified pushback. For now, we're left with a high-profile clash of versions and the emotional weight that always comes with any allegation of racism in football. The conversation is far from over, and it will likely depend on whether any governing body or independent review steps in to look more closely at the available footage and testimonies. Until then, all we can do is lay out what's been said. Kylian Mbappé claims he heard a racist insult. Gianluca Prestianni insists he did not say it and points to the lack of reaction and his habit of covering his mouth as normal behavior, not proof of guilt. Benfica has publicly backed their young forward. Releasing a video angle they say makes it practically impossible for anyone on Real Madrid's side to have clearly heard the words Mbappé described. It's a situation that it's all the hottest pressure points in modern football. Champions League tension, star names like Vinicius Jr. and Mbappé, racism, social media, and the endless replays that shape public opinion within minutes. Where you land on this will probably depend on how you weigh testimony versus video, lived experience versus presumption of innocence, and how cautious you think we should be before attaching one of the most damaging labels in sport to a young player's name. Let me know in the comments how you see it. Did Benfica's video and Prestianni's response change your perspective at all? Or do you still feel the original allegation carries more weight? This is one of those situations where the discussion around it might end up being as important as the match that sparked it.